Well, when my Valentine, my sweet James Pellicane and I we're not engaged, we're dating. And we lived in Virginia Beach, and this was serious. You know, we were in graduate school, we were really falling in love, and this was it. And it was the time in your relationship where you could just look at each other for hours. Not say a thing. No business transactions, no like who's gonna get the laundry, what are we doing Friday night? None of that, just looking at each other. He used to stare into my eyes, and I would say, "What do you see?" And he said, "I see AV." And I said, "AV?" And he said, "AV, your contacts say AV." And lo and behold, when you take out my contacts, in little ingrained letters was AV, like the little name of the contact. So I thought that was the time it was where you stare so deeply into each other's eyes that you actually know what your contact lenses say. So we were having one of those moments. We were staring in one another's eyes, holding each other's hands, looking at the ocean. Oh, it was just so romantic. He says, "Arlene, there's something that I've been wanting to talk to you about." "Oh, yes." I'm thinking, I don't think he's gonna ask me to marry him, but what could it be, Something I wanna ask you about, but I've just been having a hard time knowing how I'm gonna tell you, like how I'm gonna say it. "Oh, just say it, it's fine." "Well, you have these hairs on the top of your lip." And I said, "Excuse me?" And he says, "Have you ever thought of electrolysis?" I said, "I'm sorry, electrolysis?" "Well, yeah, it's this thing. You can get that stuff like plucked out, like lasered out. Have you ever thought of that?" Okay, ladies, you can imagine, right, what's going through my mind? Okay, Raina over here, she and I used to live on the same street. She knows my husband, and she can picture James saying this. So James is saying this, and my mind is racing like, oh my goodness, I'm so, like ranging from embarrassment, like this man that I am falling in love with is staring at my lip, and apparently it has a lot of hair on it. So my mind is kind of racing that way, and then I'm kind of like, electrolysis, I'm kind of clueless about these kinds of things. I've just come as you are, So I'm like, what is that? And, how do I get that? And then I'm thinking like, okay, how can we like leave this date because this is really awkward? So the whole time I'm just like, okay, well, that's nice. Well, ooh, look at the time. We really should be going now. Okay. So, and there's also, kind of that anger that flares up, that you feel defensive about, like, why are you talking about this? What's going on? So the first thing I did when I got home, I went to the bathroom, and I looked into the mirror, and there they were, the little hairs, they were there. I was like, oh my goodness, I do have little hairs on my lip. Oh my goodness, And before, it didn't really matter at all to me, and then all of a sudden, they looked like Groucho Marx. They were like larger than life. I was like, oh, we've got to do something about this. So I took out the phone book, and I looked up electrolysis, and I looked it up on the internet. What is this? And I called, how much is this going to cost? And I scheduled my first appointment for my upper lip. And do you know, this thing that could have kind of been like the death knell in our relationship, could have been like, how can you tell me what to do with my personal appearance, and that was very offensive to me, so I don't know, it could have gone that way. But instead I thought, you know what? This apparently is important to him. It's like something he would appreciate, and it's nothing like so difficult for me. And you know what? I bet if I did get those hairs removed, that probably would be an asset in my life. So I went ahead and I did them, and it hurts. I was like, ow, like I'm sitting there, it hurt. But do you know that when that happened, one, it was very funny. Like, it was a very funny experience between the two of us. Two, it showed him, like, wow, if I tell her something, she like will respond and listen. Because you know how we are, ladies. We are like, our husbands do not know, can I even bring that up? Because my wife is gonna freak out if I tell her X, Y, and Z, right? We're gonna be so defensive, and then we're gonna be mad, and then we're gonna have an argument, and then we're gonna have to take a day to make up, and he's thinking all through this, and he's thinking, forget it. I am not gonna tell her what I'm really thinking. And do you know, if we can provide an atmosphere for our husbands, that's part of beauty, that says, you can tell me stuff, I can take it. Come on, I can take it. If we can be that way, that helps them so much. So when he saw that I didn't freak out and that I did something about it, it was like, it gave me like hundreds of points in the love bank, you know. He's like, man, I could marry this girl. I can tell her stuff about her lip, and she still comes back and she had it done, you know. It's like, this was great. And in fact, it's funny, we still talk about it now, that I didn't realize at that time that that was really kind of like when he journals, and he would journal about it, like, wow, this little girl did it. So wow, and that was a big deal to him. Like, this is like kind of marriage material. We could work with it. We can work with her, you know. So it was a really big step for us. So ladies, part of being beautiful is being open to correction and being open to things that people may say. And when I say people, I'm talking about like your husband, your parents, your best friends, people who really care about you and have your best interests at heart. I'm not talking about every critical thing that so-and-so is always complaining and critical tells you. That's not what I'm talking about. But I'm talking about when someone who loves you comes alongside and says, you know what, I've noticed this in your life. Is there something I can help you with? Is there something bothering you? Or, you know, I've noticed you've been very stressed lately. What's really happening? For us not to be like, oh, defensive about it, but to be more open. Take that deep breath, maybe picture my lip with all the hair coming out of it, and say to yourself, I am going to be open to this correction, and I'm going to ask the Lord to show me, you know, is there something I'm supposed to do with this? I had bought Ethan some socks that, you know, he likes cars. Like the movie Cars. He doesn't love it anymore. He's getting grown up. But, you know, he still likes it. So I had bought him these socks with Lightning McQueen on them, with the little car figure on it. And I brought them home, and James was like, he's not going to like those. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, the boys in first grade, they don't wear socks like that, Arlene. They don't wear them with little characters on them anymore. They don't? It's like, he's only 6. He doesn't wear cars on his socks anymore. And lo and behold, I showed him the socks, and he's like, yeah, I don't think I would wear them, Mom. You know, so I was like, okay. And in the same way that Ethan has outgrown his Lightning McQueen socks, I want to challenge you to outgrow these myths that sometimes hold us back. The myth that says, I'm not beautiful, my body's not how I want it, I don't have enough time. In the same way, outgrow those myths to realize, you know what? With God's help, all things are possible, and I can do these things. So outgrow the myths just the same way that Ethan has outgrown the socks. I want to end with a story from the book about Noelle. She was 2 at the time, and we were at SeaWorld, and we were in the bathroom, and she stopped. And she looked at herself in that full-length mirror, and you know how 2-year-olds are, and she looked at herself, and she said, good. And I said, what? She said, good. And I said, did you just look at yourself and say good? She's like, yeah, Mom, I look good, you know? And I was like, oh my goodness, she is such a crack up. So she's so funny, and I thought to myself, how funny that when you're 2, you have all this self-confidence, right? Like you look in the mirror, you say, good. I mean, when was the last time we looked in the mirror, looked at ourselves and said, good, yeah, baby. It was like nobody over like 3 does that, you know? So how can we get back to that place of when we look into the mirror that we say good? We may not say it out loud at a public place, but in our hearts, that we would say, good, what God has created in me is good. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. This is good. Well, the work God is doing in my heart, in my body, in my soul, it's good. Because ladies, the devil would want you to say, look at that, bad, bad, bad. You're making mistakes, you're getting wrinkles, you're getting old, you don't match today. You know, that's what he wants you to hear. But instead, when you look at the mirror today, I want you to think of Noelle, and I want you to think of her saying, good, and I want you to say to yourself, good. My Heavenly Father says that I am good, because I am fearfully and wonderfully made.